All right. So, yeah, we've obviously chatted off screen, but if anyone doesn't know who I am, Ryan from Original Media, also known as Original Ryan. And I'm here today with Finia Minia. Did I pronounce that correct? Finia Moran?
Fini Miran, yeah,
Finia Moran.
yes.
Cool. And where are you from, Finia? Finia, right?
Fini.
Finia. All
It's
right, cool.
Fini, yeah. It's like the France from c'est fini.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Romania,
Yeah.
but I traveled since I could. I lived in different places, Germany. I even stayed a little bit in Italy,
Yeah.
but originally I'm from Romania.
Gotcha. And you're back in Romania now, aren't you?
Yes, we are
Yeah.
back because we didn't know what happened with all the pandemic, and so
Yeah.
we just sit down a bit, and now we are looking forward for the next trip.
Yeah, cool. No, cool, man. Well, yeah, let's jump into it because obviously today we're jumping on to chat about yourself. I guess from here it'd be awesome if you could tell the viewers what it is you do, how you do it. Obviously we've gone over where you're from, but yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Okay, let's do this. So basically, I started with videography and photography. My parents had a company. Um, they they got into it. They took pictures and videos at wedding. So I
Mhm.
was the IT guy for
Yeah.
them. That's where everything started. My passion about programs, IT, computers, and even design, because obviously you need to design covers for DVDs, CDs, and VHS. Those big cassettes. I even got the chance to print on those.
Hmm.
Um, and that took me 15 years to still improving the skills and learning programs. And
What age were you when you started with your parents with that?
well, I think I was uh, 11.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you've been
Yeah.
designing since you've been 11 years old.
Yes. Basically using Corel back then moved to different programs,
I guess
Adobe Seeds and
a
so on.
lot has changed since you've been 11 years old in the design world.
Oh yes, and even design wise, I still remember those 3D word design text. If you
Yeah.
know them,
Yeah.
they had those circular, and we use them. And at some point, I moved on from that design, but my parents didn't. And I
Yeah.
always were arguing with them. No, this looks so bad. It's so 2000 design needs to
Yeah.
be improved, make it simple and so on. And it's actually, this is a bit funny because that's how I started to learn English. That's how I started to learn how to use a computer, not just for gaming and
Yeah.
or emailing. So I didn't know English back then.
Hmm.
So I had to take every button in every program and to note it down and tell my parents, who also don't know English, what it does.
Uh-huh.
So this is how I started basically to develop these skills of self-learning.
Gotcha.
And yeah, it helped me further in time with Webflow.
Uh-huh. So let's
Um,
just backtrack here. So when you were 11, you started with your parents and they were doing
yeah,
wedding photography,
yes,
a lot of design stuff. And you said you did that for 15 years.
yes.
Gotcha. So, and the big thing that stood out for you was the what's the word? Typography that you were using and the type of design, and it evolved
The,
as you were working with it.
Yes, I mean, I always were looking for, let's say you have to build a banner or you have to edit photos, but you also need to put the names of the uh, couple, the date. You also do invitations. So it always were, uh, I had this idea that everything should be really nice done, not
Gotcha.
in the, it's a design that when you see it is not retro, and
Uh-huh.
it's also not modern. It's
Uh-huh.
in between,
Gotcha.
and it
Yeah.
only took like 5 years. And yeah, but yes, it was the typography, the design that I always were into by
Yeah.
doing this, and also videography and editing. on that part.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. And how did that from there morph from, because you said you basically were your parents' IT guy. So from there, that morph from what you're doing there into design and websites and Webflow.
Well, that happened when IT started to become mainstream and people, it wasn't such a taboo subject, at least in our country.
Uh-huh.
When you said someone is working IT, you don't know what they are
Yeah.
doing. They
Yeah.
just say it's IT, they do computers
Uh-huh.
or apps. Actually, they don't know the term apps. They just say that. So um, basically I had a few ideas, like I always wanted, for example, Facebook to be more alive, so I started to uh, design a website that's more alive, that has videos, because I thought, okay, we use those big cassettes, those big discs, CDs, and then DVDs.
Yeah.
So maybe the next things is that video will become more mainstream. You will no longer have pictures, you will have videos.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be true, because today we are using TikTok a lot
Mm-hmm.
and it's full of videos. So,
Mm-hmm.
and even TikTok is bigger than Facebook. Okay,
Yeah.
and I had this idea and I pitched it to a lot of companies, and you can expect them to want to work with you when you have 17 years
Yeah.
and you don't have no background, because
Uh-huh.
I went to art school, and no one wanted me to collaborate on this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, I will get in a company, get trained,
Yeah.
and because I really wanted to know, to understand how an app is working, how the websites are working. I heard about WordPress, I did some research, didn't like it,
Yeah.
hated, sorry, but
What was
the
your
UIs,
what was your dislike with WordPress?
the UI and
Gotcha.
the
Yeah.
UX, it's a bit, maybe it's because I got accommodated and familiar with Adobe
Mm-hmm.
style of doing things,
Yeah.
and
Just
but I didn't like it.
limitations behind what you can and can't do with a WordPress website.
Yes, obviously back then I didn't know about all the parameters and what you can do. Is just
Yeah.
I didn't like the visual of using WordPress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then obviously no one took me in because I had zero experience, and in order for you to have an internship, you have to be in a computer science school,
Gotcha.
and I
Gotcha.
was in art school,
Yeah.
so it didn't add
I
up.
guess at the
So I
time,
s-
two different,
yeah,
skills, but now they're kind of one and the
it
same.
combined.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it combined really nicely.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, F it. No one wants to help me doing this, then I will do it on my own.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
there is the point where I was starting to look for a program or a web builder.
Yeah.
I even tested all of them, Wix, Squarespace, and
Yeah.
all of them had this limitation regarding of the design. And back then I was doing some animations in After Effects.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to do some suns, galaxies. I got obsessed with this 3D modeling in
Yeah.
After Effects and particles and all of that. And I always thought that how cool it would be to just add these animations in the website and
Yeah.
animate them on scroll, create parallax effects and so on.
Yeah.
And that was the moment when I discovered Webflow. They
Gotcha.
have this, I don't know why, it's just the only video that it's somehow made for After Effects.
Yeah.
And the moment I saw it, and even the intro and the narrative, uh, it hit me. I said, okay, this is the
Yeah.
program I will. And then I saw how they have these cool courses
Yeah.
and funny,
Very interesting. Yeah.
funny, yeah,
Yeah.
jokes and inside jokes. And
Yeah.
I said, okay, I can do this, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. And I think it was 4 or 5 years ago,
Gotcha. All right. Cool.
somewhere.
That's really interesting how, kind of like Steve Jobs, I guess you've come from this background of design and features, but then you saw that, well, this is kind of the way things IT are going. And because of the background that you had, you're able to implement that, but you didn't really get a chance to implement it until you found the platform that would kind of combine all these things together. So that's really cool. But you just answered my next question: is how long have you been working with Webflow for? So 5 years now.
So
No,
yeah,
no, 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 no,
five
no. It's
years.
fine. 5 years. 5 years. So has a lot changed in 5 years with Webflow since you've been working on it?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes, and I'm really excited to. I'm looking for the next updates,
yeah,
features. I know Webflow it's a bit slow uh, when it comes to adding up new features, or at
yeah,
least mandatory features a web builder should have.
yeah. I guess
But I think, yeah,
that's the biggest drawback with Webflow is they are,
yes,
as far as the community's involved, as far as getting new things on board. But from my perspective, the reason behind that is because they safeguard the functionality so much.
exactly,
You use a
exactly.
Webflow website, like it loads incredibly fast. It's very hard to find flaws in website. That's why they're amazing for SEO, because they're just such fast loading websites. So I guess that's kind of the drawback, but it's also the benefit, because it's very hard to find, with a WordPress website, you could log on at a random time and your website is just like, it just looks not like your website. And that could just be,
Yes,
for God knows, maybe it's been hacked, or maybe it's just a piece of code that's just randomly just, come out of sequence, but for God knows what reason. But that just doesn't happen with Airflow. So I guess that is
yes.
kind of the downside to it as far as a developer is concerned. But then I guess from the user's perspective, it's impeccable as far as, you could jump on a Webflow and 99.9% of the time, the Webflow website is going to function exactly how you need it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I think it's the best way to do things. Just imagine uh, how more or less used will be Webflow when they had a lot of bugs. If
Yeah.
they had a lot of bugs,
Yeah.
if you somehow knew that you have constantly to check if it's working or not,
Yeah.
and that will not just damage designers, developers, businesses, but also the end client,
Yeah.
those who have websites. And it, yeah, I think it's like you said, they safeguard the functionalities to
Yeah.
work properly and to be
Well,
stable.
I think the main thing that they've really taken into consideration is like, what is the reason you have a website? Is to convert. So if the
Yeah,
website doesn't work properly, or at certain times of the day it's down because the hosting's all screwed up, it's no longer going to convert. So for the for the majority of the part, I'd say that's what they're safeguarding. And like you said, as a designer, it's like the confidence you have behind a designer and a builder, because you do both. The confidence you have behind building something and knowing that it's going to actually function that way, you don't have to go through 5 different development teams to make sure that it works, is incredible. Which leads me to my next question: is what do you like most about Webflow? What is it that, if you had to pick something that is your complete favorite about it, working with it, what would that be?
well, I'd say the visual design of the web builder, because for me at least, this is obviously Webflow has limitations, has more benefits, like the website is behaving properly and it load faster than other web builders and so on. But if you're spending like 10 hours or 12 hours developing a website, and you're doing something amazing and nice, and you are bringing all these research, UI, everything,
Yeah,
and then the UI and UX of the web builder, the canvas, the tools, it's not well built.
yeah,
It's kind of a contradiction there
yeah,
between what you are doing and what you are using to do that. It's like hitting, I don't know, instead of using a hammer, you use a wooden stick,
yeah,
and it just gets everything so easy. And the fact that it's built on code,
yeah.
they they could, if we thought about, they could just not include this feature.
Mm-hmm.
They could basically said, okay, this is the builder and that's it.
Mm.
You have everything in Webflow. but
Yeah.
they choose to also allow you to scale up, for example, big websites that needs of Firebase, that needs cloud computing, that needs
Yeah.
different tools and web builder.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so I like how the company, the vision of the company, and how it's offered to us
Yeah.
developers and designers.
Gotcha. So, for what I'm hearing is you're saying the main thing you really like is the design to development is just realistically unlimited. Um,
Yeah.
and on top of that, they've made this, they've safeguarded, like we said, the hosting and the ability for the website to work properly, but they've also left it somewhat open source where you can go in and do things that you want to do. It might take a little bit extra time, and it might take a bit more technical know-how, but you can go in and add stuff that doesn't exist. And anyone that's in Webflow actually knows this because there's a huge community. And anytime you have a
Yeah.
problem, you can jump in the forums and be like, hey guys, I'm trying to figure this out. And more times than none, there's someone that's had the same problem and they've come up with a solution. It might be a little unique piece of code. And you can solve the problem pretty quickly. And I guess the awesome thing behind that as well is that that when you implement it, it's not going to slow the website down. It's that all that stuff is safeguarded by Webflow, with their already existing sort of backend functionalities.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
So
obviously the community is another one.
yeah.
It's also another because it's Webflow community. You can have the Webflow community on other uh, builders. It's that's also amazing.
Community behind it. Yeah, it has a massive community behind Webflow. They're very passionate
Yeah.
people when it comes to design, and it makes sense because it's realistically the only thing on the market where designers can come in and make a reality of what they want. Whereas, I guess more traditional models like WordPress, everyone's heard of WordPress. That's very, very difficult to make a beautiful piece of art that's on the internet. You've got a lot of restraints. Which is interesting because that leads me into my next question is how do you find dynamics of working as, so if you're building a website, there's the design part and then there's the actual execution, and that's a lot of that is the functionality behind it. So often, working with clients, working on new websites, you have the design, and that's obviously a very static part of the website because that's just built on Figma or whatever design you're building it on. But then you will come to a point where you're like, well, I want this bit to turn and I want this bit to do this when I move the mouse. So it'd be interesting to know, your relation with that and your feedback and what sort of experience you have as far as going from the design to the execution and the functionality behind the execution, and maybe any experience or stories you might have within that.
So because Webflow it's so easy to build what you imagine,
Mm-hmm.
it's also the same amount of easiness to also build it, but also adapt it. As you said, maybe you want to change something.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a lot of one-on-one Figma to Webflow, and usually we end up changing things, and Webflow is just making this so easy. And the whole process, we also, for example, use Hotjar or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
different analytics to check what users
So if anyone
do.
doesn't know what Hotjar is, that's a program where it gives you every single user that comes onto your website. You can see their mouse movements, and B, it actually collectively works out heat mapping. So it collectively
Yes.
works out percentage based where majority of the time people click their mouse. So that's really interesting that you say that. How have you implemented Hotjar into your designing? And
We also let websites to have like 6 months to gather data,
mm-hmm.
and then it's basically a part of the development.
Yeah.
We see how the user is behaving. For example, maybe in development, we design a different navbar, but we decided to develop differently.
Yeah.
And then it's just, I think they are working together.
Yeah.
And if you add up these kind of analytics, parametrics that you can check if the design is working, and then you are designing it in Webflow.
Yeah.
That's what we no longer needed to go in Figma and design it
Yeah.
because we had this data. So
Yeah.
being able to do that, to design based on some, let's say the users aren't clicking on a button, so we decide to make it a little bigger and so on. We don't need to go back in Figma to design it, because
Yeah.
Webflow, it just gives you this simple method of designing it
Yeah.
directly.
Because
Obviously, we are talking about just little modifications that we can do and test. So this is another thing that I like about Webflow, actually, the fact that you can also design some, or redesign actually some functions and features
yeah.
directly in it, to check if it's working better, if it's bringing more traffic or creates more lead.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Because yeah, I guess traditionally, most people, I'd say 90% of websites on the internet are WordPress, or ones that get traffic anyway. And traditionally with that, you're like, oh, well, we want to change this design, then you have to go redesign it in Figma, and then after you've done that, you've got to give it to the developer, and then you got to say, hey, can you fix this, this, and this, and then usually it comes back and it's not exactly how you want it, and then you've got to be like, hey, look, this is what I want, this is what you got, and then play this
Yeah.
backwards and forth game. Whereas what you're saying with Webflow is it's like really as simple as just being able to jump in and be like, oh, I'm going to push. It's not simple. Nothing's really simple in what we do in this industry, but from a perspective of, what it used to be, now it's like, okay, cool, I can change this. And instead of it taking months, you can do it in a couple of days, changing things around. So cool. It's, yeah, definitely a huge benefit of Webflow. So next question, I'm still getting used to this interview stuff. So
No worries. I'm new too, so
okay, so design wise, you just touched on it then, which was really good. How have you seen sort of functionality affect and dynamic pages sort of affect conversions? Have you seen it improve conversions? Have you seen it increase traffic at all? Has it taken away or given to websites? Yeah, how have you seen that sort of play out with Webflow websites where you've actually had moving functionality? Your website, for example, has a lot of functionality. Me personally, with your website, I like it better on the mobile than the desktop. I think the mobile is
okay.
incredible. It's so smooth, and it has this awesome, mobile functionality to it. It'd be really interesting to see from your experience how you've seen, the ability that you can get from Webflow's functionality, how that's either taken away or had a positive effect as far as conversions. Because at the end of the day, that's really what matters with websites. So they really you want them to look good, but we have a saying, or I have a saying, is there's no point in having a billboard in the middle of the desert. So you really need that billboard to
Yes,
have lots of traffic, and then you also need it to convert. So yeah, what sort of
I
experience have you had with that?
I agree, and yes, I've seen always improvement. Now, obviously, there are some things you need to do in order to have those improvements. If you keep your website secret and you don't expose to friends, family,
Yeah,
everyone, and it's just for yourself, obviously, it's like you said, you are in the middle of the desert, and it doesn't matter if you have a big company there. No
yeah,
one is looking for it.
yeah.
Um, but I've seen improvements like from, let's say, a website that only bring 200 people to 39k people. So it was a big difference for them.
So
And
how much traffic do you say you got?
39k,
39K
it's
per
like
month.
39,000. Yeah.
Per month, gotcha. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually, I don't think it's per month.
Okay,
Actually, yeah, it's per month, because I get these informations once a week
gotcha.
from Search Google Console.
Yep.
But it affected it's a restaurant of chain in Zurich.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen how there we even implemented a form,
Yep.
and it gets so overcrowded. They needed that because people, they are used to reserve online all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it got overcrowded. At some point, they even asked me to shut down
Shut the
forms.
website down. So
Not the website, the
the form.
possibility to reserve tables,
God,
because they were somehow worried that they might have a lot of people
gotcha.
extra, and it's kind of suck if you if someone is coming to your restaurant and
So
you will not let them dine in, or
gotcha.
because it's
So was that
reserved.
was that a was that the overbooking? Was that a result of the an extra functionality that you brought in through? You said the form.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes, they had a really crappy form.
Yeah. So did you
It was.
was it already on Webflow, or did you push it the whole website onto Webflow and build the form? How did that play out?
So we built the website and the design,
Yep.
and we made things a lot simple. And the website they just redirected people to this crappy form,
Yeah.
and it's just one. They have like 8 or 9 restaurants, and you only could reserve one table. But if I remember correctly, you couldn't have chosen what restaurant
Gotcha.
or
Okay.
what time.
It's
It
kind of
was
outdated.
really,
Yeah.
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 Yes,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you made a reservation, but when? And
Yeah.
anyway, we implemented and we integrated another form.
Yeah.
It's not on Webflow, it's a function that we integrated,
Gotcha.
but the design and everything, we did it on the website where
Gotcha.
people click how to
So you
choose and
had the
everything.
ability to bring an existing software that book tables and specific restaurants, integrate it into the website, but then also have the
Yes,
ability to control the design of the form, and I'm assuming the
yes,
calendar and everything else that went along with it. Gotcha.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and it worked really well by the sounds of it.
Yes, they had us
Too
to
well.
shut it down at some
Yeah.
point. Yes. Because somehow people, it was more easy to reserve tables,
Yeah.
and they no longer had to struggle with the crappy form.
Yeah.
And now they had the design. Maybe
Yeah.
they did some promotion. We don't know that part.
Yeah.
Maybe they did some traffic, but the fact that it's still you having the same amount of people visiting and searching on Google,
Yeah.
uh, instead of 200 they had,
Hmm.
that was a big improvement, and I think it's one of the biggest that I achieved. Another one will be an actress. uh, and it's a Romanian actress. We
Yeah.
developed the website. We add some functions like CMS, multi-reference CMS, and we build a really nice CMS structure there.
Yeah.
Uh, she wasn't. She doesn't know so much about how. Let's say she isn't into uh, computers,
Hmm.
into tech. So we had to build a smart CMS that only uses toggles. So
Gotcha.
that was a bit challenging, but we also saw improvements there.
Hmm.
She got more jobs, and at some point, she failed to pay the hosting. Um, and for that one day, even if it was Sunday, or I think, yeah, Sunday,
Yeah.
she wrote us, please put it back because I need it. I got a lot of emails. It's not okay. And I said, okay, but you need to pay for it. Anyway,
Yeah.
we eventually made her understand, because she somehow thought that we are doing an extra charge, or she didn't understand exactly what we are asking for. And
Yeah.
then
Gotcha.
we explained, okay, this is the hosting. It has nothing to do with
I
us.
see. I
You
see.
need to pay
Yeah.
for it.
That can be
Uh,
very, yeah, Webflow does have some of those things where it's like, yeah, the hosting is very interesting because quite often that's a charge that Webflow have. It's not, like that. And that's
yes,
why Webflow is, that's one of their upsides is their hosting is amazing. It's a little bit
yes,
more expensive than, I guess your traditional hosting. Not crazy expensive, but a little bit more. But that's something that they directly charge the client. So yeah, I can see the confusion there. So she didn't pay hosting, and then you had a chat with her, and you're like, "Hey, look, you just got to get this paid it," and then
yeah.
boom, she's got all these inquiries coming in again, and that's off the back of the functionalities that you guys made. So
Yes,
that's
but this gave us a bit of insights to see
yeah,
how everything is working. And obviously, this is a client we had 2 years ago.
Hmm.
and we still help him understand all sorts of aspects. We even move the domain on her account. This is what we somehow do. If we build something, we build it, till the end,
Yep.
because we care to the client to understand, and also we care to see how everything just got improved.
Gotcha. Ah, cool. It's really good to hear you feel like your experience in that. So obviously, design makes a huge difference, and it's something that Webflow makes a lot easier to do. I guess compared to traditional, other formats like WordPress, for example. So that's really cool. So my second to last question is, and this is an interesting one: what's more important, design, functionality, or traffic? So before you jump into that, I'll give you my opinion on this, because I'm like a design SEO guy. As far as building out websites, I really enjoy watching that happen, but it's not an expertise that I have. But my expertise is SEO. And a lot of SEO also comes back to design. So if I had to pick one, I would say traffic. Traffic, and it's an interesting argument, because people are like, well, if I get too much traffic, then I'm going to get people that I don't want. But from my experience, it's really hard to do the exact client first, opposed to just getting a lot of traffic and then venting them down once they've come to your website. Whereas a lot of people want to have this sort of magical funnel where they just only get their best client to their website, and that converts. So yeah, my view on that is traffic. What's your view on that?
Well, obviously, all of them are very important,
Mm-hmm.
but to be honest, I think we are on the same page, because let's say you have a cool design, a cool website,
Mm-hmm.
and cool functions, everything is working properly, but you don't have traffic.
Yep.
That's a bit of a problem,
A
and I
billboard
even
in the
had
middle of the desert.
yes, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I even had these it's not actually a problem, but this bad experience with the client, that they said they knew how to promote themselves, they know about SEO. We gave them full access of the website. They
Yeah.
could have updated it. And after 1 year, it just got discontinued. They shut down the website because it doesn't convert. Now the website it has an amazing design. It's simple. It has the industry in the mind, how it's built, and so on. And the functions, it's also easy to book and use their services. Okay, but then if you have traffic but you have a bad design, there is also a problem.
Yeah.
It's somehow they are interconnected.
Yeah.
And also, if you have traffic and the good design, but the development loading page is taking forever,
Load. Yeah.
that's also not okay.
Huge. Yeah.
If it's more than 3 seconds,
Yeah.
you can say goodbye to maybe
Done.
half of the traffic,
Yeah.
because we are used to TikTok,
Yeah.
fast delivered content. So it also has to have everything. But
Yeah.
I think I agree. The traffic is the engine after all.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So my last question here is, and this is an interesting one. You've got to be attentive of time here, but how much should a website cost to build for a consumer, and why? So what's involved with making a website, and why should you pay someone so much to make one? This is an
Well, I
interesting
say it depends.
question.
I know everyone will say that.
Yeah, it depends. That's our favorite answer when it comes to SEO. Like, how long does
Yes.
it take? It depends. I guess it's the same with websites. So the big reason, behind this question is, like, people just don't understand what is behind building a website. So maybe you can help sort of break that down.
Yes. So let's talk about that. For let's take my example. I have like maybe 15 years or 15, maybe even more. Now it's 17 years
Yeah.
in doing all this design, then learning
Yeah.
the whole process, it took me 17 years to
Yeah.
be here.
A lot of experience. You have a lot of skill.
So, and in those 17 years, I didn't somehow recover my investment in what I invested.
Yeah.
It's the time, the money, and all of that. So, and the whole process of learning Webflow, it might seem easy, but it's not. I've seen a lot. It's like a paradox to me. It's so easy to watch someone adding div blocks and headings and so on, and it's like you said when we were talking before. It seems easy. It's like drag and drop some things and so on, but it's not. It's like if you don't use the correct parameters and you don't know how everything is functioning, it doesn't work. It's a bad design. It doesn't load properly and so on. So I think
my
it's
comparison to that is it's kind of like heart surgery. Like it's, you know, the concept of heart surgery is quite easy. You know, you take a heart out and you put a new one in, but like, could you do that? No.
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
Right. There are a lot of things you have to take into consideration.
You pay a lot of
on
money
the
for heart surgery.
Yes. And I think this is one of the aspect everyone should take into consideration, how much time you have spent in improving, because there are also another and I think here is the gap that not everyone is understanding. The time you spend doing something isn't the same with the time you spend evolving or getting better at it.
Yeah.
It's extra time when you want always get to always improve your skills and so on.
Yeah.
So I heard a lot of developers and designers that they have like 30 years of experience.
Yeah.
But they only improve in those 30 years, 3 years or 4, because it's already necessary. Now everything is becoming design wise more developed and more spread. So I think that's one aspect. It should determine what's the final price, and then obviously what's the value you bring to the client. If it's a big company, it should offer, or at least if it has a lot of funding to build a website, it should hire more. You know, they have the power to bring more and more people, and with great minds come great responsibility. Yeah.
All right. Well, so we just lost each other for a second, and I think it's technical difficulties. But it's interesting because you said, "Great power comes great responsibility." Love it. Great quote. But you're right, because you know, like you said, there's a lot involved, and you need to know what's involved building a site, because it's not just as simple as like, oh, here's a design, we'll bang it on Webflow, and then we'll make that thing work. It's really comes down to, okay, we have to design this thing, and when we have to backwards engineer it from what it is we want, and from there we also have to figure out what functionality we want, and is that possible within the budget that we're working with. Because again, it's like anything in life, you know, if you're building a house, there's the cost involved of you know, buying the bricks or the wood or whatever, but then there's the labor involved as well. And it's like anything in life as well. If you're building a house, if you hire a builder that's hasn't even done his apprenticeship yet, you're going to get a pretty shitty house after he's finished. Whereas you hire someone that's done it for 30 years, the quality of the house is going to be incredible. And obviously
but more expensive.
Exactly. The cost involved with either of those is going to differ a lot, because one's way more experienced. So it might be helpful for the viewers to sort of break down, from your experience, the process of start to finish of a website. So everything from the initial, catch up with the client, what it is they want, and really touching on those conversions, what's the actual outcome, and then tracking that all the way back down to design, and then some people do it with Figma, some people do it on other platforms, and then the actual build of it, and then any other sort of processes that might go after it's finished, I guess.
So the first thing we do is to better understand the company and the end client for the company. We are basically working with the client of the client.
Gotcha. I like that.
because
Yeah.
those who are that matter. We don't want the client to like the website. We want their clients to like the website, to be able to convert.
Yeah.
So for that we put a lot of questions. What's the vision and what's the demographics? If it's possible, we also ask for the insights, if they had done a Facebook campaign just to attract more people to like the page. Those are relevant infos we get, and then we jump right in designing. But we also, if a company has a strong brand, a style guide,
Hmm.
we use it obviously, but usually companies don't have that, so we also take part in that. We are
Yeah.
taking, even sometimes rebranding the whole um, company
Which is
visuals,
really
because
important because that's something people overlook.
yes,
'Cause when someone comes to your
yes, they
website and if there's no match up between, the
exactly,
branding and what they're seeing, it's just like take everything out of consideration, how fast it loads, how pretty it looks and everything else, how much traffic. If there's a mismatch between, the brand of your color is blue and I'm looking at an orange website, the brain just automatically just distrusts it. So that's huge.
yes,
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah.
yes, we always do that. And obviously some clients have already printed assets,
Uh-huh.
like they have on the cars, and if they deliver or so on. So
Yeah.
it's a bit hard to rebrand that.
Uh-huh.
So then we try to match if
Yeah.
that is not possible. Anyway, after that we start building the website based on the functions they need.
Mm-hmm.
So basically we also take already into the consideration the functions. We are
Mm-hmm.
not just designing, let's design a landing page
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll see what other functions you want.
Mm-hmm.
No, because those needs to be integrated in the design.
Mm-hmm.
So we create this sitemap with uh, all user roadmap, where experience and so on, and how they like it. We obviously offer consulting on that part,
Mm-hmm.
and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Then after we review alongside with the client, the design, everything is also structured in tools like Asana
Mm-hmm.
and or Monday or ClickHub,
Mm-hmm.
because it's easy for them to track and to see where the progress of the website
Yeah.
is.
Gotcha. Yeah. And what
Okay,
about
and
the
then
yeah, sorry, continue. Yeah, yeah.
we jump in developing in Webflow.
Gotcha. What about just touch on the design part? Do you guys design in Figma? How do you
Figma.
what's Figma? Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
we use Adobe XD, but we love the fact that Figma has this prototype integration in it, and it also allows you to somehow animate some of the motions you want to do, like buttons and so on. It's
Yeah.
pretty
So you
nice.
can show within Figma, you can actually show to a degree some of the animations that you're going to have within the
Yes,
website. So it really helps visualize that for the client. Because that's
yes,
sometimes that's the biggest struggle is like, well, this is a static website
yeah,
and it's going to look
yes,
like this on Webflow. And making that jump is big. And then by the time you've done it and you've got it on Webflow, and let's say the person, the client, that it's not quite what they want, it's not as easy as just pressing Control Z. There's a lot that goes into it. So
yes,
Figma is pretty handy for that by the sound of it within your design process, making
yes.
sure that's all taken care of. All right, cool. So you build on Figma. You take care of, for the most part, some of the motion graphics that are going to be involved. And then from there, what's the process you go from there to Webflow?
Well, from there we start basically developing one-on-one from Figma.
Gotcha.
Now, obviously, sometimes some things need to be changed. Like, let's say on Figma, we can do parallax effects, we can do different animations, how uh, uh, different text or lottie files behave on scroll and so on.
Yeah.
So, based on that new part, we are also adapting the design if it's required.
Yeah.
But basically now on the Webflow part, uh, we do the design, and then obviously that's not all. We
Yeah.
are also taking care into always checking if the page has issue.
Yeah.
Webflow has helped us with this feature. It's come really in handy. Then we build the structure of the folders, how the website is built. Then we
I guess
also
for
add,
anyone that doesn't understand Webflow, just quickly on that is, if you don't have any idea how Webflow works, some people could compare it to Wix, but it's definitely nothing like Wix.
no,
And from my perspective as an SEO, and I'm all about traffic, but design is a
yeah,
huge part of it, because it's like Google take all this into consideration. So design's still massive outside of the actual SEO best practice. But and that's why Webflow is so amazing, because it loads so fast. So you have this ability to make all these incredible functionalities, but it still loads fast. But for people that don't understand it, it's not this sort of drop and drag, like Wix or some of the really basic things. It's building boxes within boxes is the best way I could describe it. And
yes,
why does it work like that? If you really need to keep going back into the weeds, so to speak, it's just because of the
hmm,
way the code works, and that's how it sort of identifies
yes,
things. And it works like that because it's, if you know anything
really,
about coding, which I'm assuming most listeners don't, um, the more structured you can get with the code, the faster it's going to load, and that's generally what slows down a website, is all the code behind it. And that's generally what makes a website not work, because it's trying to load code on code on code. Where Webflow have made this ability where you can put things in boxes and structure them, and it has this ability to understand what a thing is within a thing and a thing. And then obviously from your perspective as the designer and the builder, you can make it look really good and function well. So when we're talking about, you said, I can't remember the exact words you used, but when you're building it in Webflow, if you had to vision it, for anyone that's listening and not watching, it's really boxes within boxes is the best way I can describe it. And that's what makes that functionality work so well.
yeah.
So yeah, I just want to touch on that, but continue.
Um, I agree. Yes,
Yeah.
it's easy for the so for everything to read Webflow code, and
Yeah.
it's nice even it is allow you to watch that code.
Yeah.
I always go in and check the code how it's built, and always just amaze me.
Yeah.
Anyway, after we do everything like page names and open graphs, all of that are required. Then we add the marketing tools.
Mm-hmm.
We integrate Hotjar, as I said before.
Yeah.
We integrate Google Analytics.
Yeah.
We use Tag Manager, Google Console, all of these
Yeah.
to check how well the function works. And
Gotcha.
then,
Yeah.
obviously, that's not the end.
Yeah.
From that on, you also need to keep improving the website, how it functions, even the SEO part.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but on that SEO part, it's also a constant change.
Oh,
You don't
100%. Yeah.
just write something, do something, and then you leave it like
Yeah,
that
the
for
days of
5 years.
forget are well and truly gone. Yeah, it's a constant moving thing. But that, again, that's why Webflow is so good, because like you
Yeah.
said, you put the hot jar in there, you see what people are doing. The better you can get a website to convert with existing traffic, the better the SEO is going to get, because Google is going to say, oh, people are actually coming to this website, and in the last 2-3 months, it's gone from 10 conversions to 30, or 30 to 60. Okay, well, people obviously like this website, so let's put it in front of more people. And at the end of the day, that's all Google want, is they just want to put websites in front of people that people want to see. So a great indicator for Google to actually understand that is that it's converting. So you're 100% right. It's all holistic. It all comes together very nicely like that. Yeah. So you build the functionality, and like you said, you continue working on it, and it's just continuous. So I guess to touch back on the initial question is, how much should a website cost to build? I guess, it still comes back to, it depends, but, it's really comes back to, what do you want out of it? What's the end goal? And the person team working on it, what's their experience, and can they achieve it? And if the outcome outweighs the price tag behind it, then that's how much it should cost. So interesting question. That's why I like to finish on it, because it's probably
Yes.
anyone building a website, if they're involved in a company or they're a sole trader, like that's usually the biggest hurdle for most people, because it's a lot, people don't understand this IT stuff. They don't really get it. And it's kind of this invisible thing that's so important to businesses this day and age. Like you can't get around it. And I guess, having a bit of understanding helps. So, but yeah, look, that's really good. I think we got a lot out of this interview today, which is awesome.
I'm glad.
It's definitely gone longer than I thought it would, but a lot of good content. So, but yeah, to wrap up, just tell the watchers and the viewers where they can find you, how they can get in contact with you.
Well, they can access our website, and we build it to make it easier
Yeah, we'll chuck
for.
it in the links. We'll chuck your website in the link below the video.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Basically, on the website we have a WhatsApp button. So I said, let's talk. We also have a old school contact form,
Yeah.
but actually we want fast response,
Yeah.
fast development, and so on. So we thought that it's the best way. You can
Yeah.
always communicate directly
I see that
with
working a
me.
lot. Yeah. What I see a lot
Yes.
of websites doing that. And me personally, if I see a WhatsApp thing, I click it straight away and I start talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's meet. Let's talk about the project. Let's see what challenges it brings, because every project has different challenges, different ways of building it, and so on.
Yeah.
So why not just go straight for that and skip the corporate part
Yeah.
where you need to complete the form, we need to reach out, then you need to respond.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah.
So we'll put the website in the link below, but just so that if anyone's listening, what's your website?
So it's biscuits, but it's bit as q and then uits.com.
Gotcha.
It's basically coming from biscuits,
Yeah.
but it's biscuit.
Yeah. And it's an incredible website. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I
Thank
definitely
you.
recommend it. It's amazing.
Well, we are also constantly improving it, so
Yeah.
maybe it will look different at some time,
Which is
depending
good.
on
Which is
where
good.
they are watching.
You're
Yeah.
practicing what you preach. So that's really good.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for jumping on. I hope the listeners got a lot out of today. I definitely did. So, but yeah, man. Let's catch up another time and do it
Yes.
again.
Thank you for having me.
No worries at all.
Wish you all the best.
Yeah, you too, man. All right, then. I'll catch you later.
Okay.
Bye.